What if I told you war isn't failing? It's working exactly as designed, because every time a war starts, someone somewhere gets paid. Not soldiers, not civilians, but corporations, lobbyists, and the people writing the rules. And the most dangerous part? It's all legal. For over 60 years, the United States has been involved in continuous conflict. Different countries, different reasons, different presidents, but the outcome? Always the same. More spending, more contracts, more profit. So the real question isn't, why does war happen? The real question is, who benefits when it does? Let's start with one name. Dick Cheney. Before becoming vice president, he was the CEO of Halliburton, one of the largest military contractors on the planet. In 2000, he walked away with $36 million, then stepped into power. And soon after, America went to war, Afghanistan, Iraq. And while the world focused on politics, something else was happening quietly. Halliburton's government contracts nearly doubled. They pulled in $1.2 billion in new revenue. When questioned, Cheney said, "I wouldn't know how to manipulate the system, even if I wanted to." And maybe he didn't need to, because this system doesn't require corruption. It requires access, the right people, in the right rooms. This is what experts call the revolving door. Government gives private sector, gives back to government. Same people, same influence, different titles. Years before becoming VP, Cheney, as Secretary of Defense, paid a company to study something very specific. How can private companies replace military operations? That company got the contract. That wasn't an accident. That was a blueprint. And after 9/11, that blueprint scaled globally. After September 11th, 2001, America didn't just go to war. It outsourced it. At one point, 190,000 private contractors versus 175,000 soldiers. Let that sink in. Private companies were running logistics, fuel, transport, food, even infrastructure. War became a marketplace, and demand exploded overnight. Millions turned into billions, and billions into empires. Now fast forward to today. Two places making headlines, Iran and Venezuela. Coincidence? Not even close. Venezuela holds some of the largest oil reserves on Earth, plus rare minerals critical for modern weapons. Now here's where it gets interesting. When conflict rises in the Middle East, oil prices spike, sometimes over $100 per barrel, and suddenly, expensive oil projects in places like Venezuela become insanely profitable, or in one region unlocks profit in another. That's not chaos. That's strategy. But the money doesn't just stay in America. War creates opportunity, even in destruction. Take Fahim Hashimi. In 2001, he was just an English teacher. Then the youth arrived. He became an interpreter, learned how supply chains worked, saw what soldiers needed, and then he built a business around it. Today, he runs a massive company, trucks, media, real estate, even an airline. And now, he works with the Taliban. That's how powerful the system is. It doesn't care who's in control, as long as business continues. Here's the part most people miss. The U.S. doesn't always need to fight to profit from war. It sells it. Saudi Arabia gets around 73% of its weapons from the U.S. Israel receives billions in military aid, which cycles back into American defense companies. It's a loop. Money gives weapons, gives conflict, gives more money. And every cycle gets bigger. Right now, over 1,000 lobbyists represent the defense industry. That's nearly 2 for every member of Congress. Many are former military officials. They know the system. They shape the system, and they protect the system. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon don't just build weapons. They influence policy. They fund campaigns. They help decide who wins elections. At this point, war isn't policy. It's business continuity. So let's be honest. Modern wars aren't always meant to be won. They're meant to be sustained. Long enough to justify spending. Long enough to generate profit. Long enough to keep the machine alive. Now listen carefully. This doesn't mean every war is fake, or every decision is corrupt, but it does mean one thing. If money is involved, it will influence decisions. So if you really want to understand what's happening in the world, don't just watch the news. Follow the money. If this opened your eyes, subscribe. And comment one thing. Follow the money. Because the more people understand this, the harder it becomes to ignore.